Welcome guys to another chess analysis. Now, today I'm bringing you a game that just made its way into history books as it has probably one of the most insane combinations the chess world has ever seen. And I don't care how much chess you've ever played, because if you've never seen this before and you say you're not impressed after seeing it, like, I'm sorry, but you're straight up lying, because I'm sure you'll be shocked. But yeah, let's just dive in. This was a casual game played in 1912 actually, so way before computers were even a thing. With the white pieces, we have a strong international master and actually renowned chess author, Edward Lasker, and with the black pieces, we have George Allen Thomas. Now, okay, perhaps George isn't really very well known, however, he was actually a very strong player as well in like the 1920s to 1930s, being British chess champion twice and even beating the likes of previous world chess champions such as Raul Capablanca and Mikhail Botvinnik. So yeah, really strong opposition here for white. Let's just see what he managed to pull off that is so special even today. So the game started with d4, and after e6 by black, this can go several ways. White can go for d4, and after d5, we transpose into a French game. He can go perhaps c4, and again after d4 go into a queen's gambit. However, he decides to keep things dynamic and the options open, and he goes for knight f3. Now black here just determines the structure of the game, because he goes f5, which, okay, it really isn't a popular move nowadays. However, it isn't necessarily a bad one, because black is just putting his pressure in the center, just controlling all the light squares, and you'll play moves like knight f6, maybe fianchetto to his bishop, and really dominate the light square scene in the center of the board, and yeah, eventually try to make an expansion and get his space back. Now white continues with normal development, we have knight c3. White continues with his plan, we have knight to f6. And after bishop to g5, pinning the knight to the queen, we just have bishop to e7, again developing the bishop and pinning the knight. And white goes for a very concrete plan here. He actually takes these knights. We have bishop takes on f6. Now okay, normally you're recommended not to give your bishop pair away, because, they can be pretty strong. However, these very strong players, they actually always play their moves with a purpose, like you should as well. And this is bishop takes on f6 has the purpose of removing this strong defender from the light squares, so that white can actually play e4 and gain some space and maybe open some lines and get at this guy as soon as he can. Now black obviously retakes with the bishop. We have bishop takes on f6, right? You wouldn't want to damage his pawn structure, and indeed we have e4. Now we have a trade in the center. We have f takes on e4, knight takes on e4, and again black just continues with his plan of white square domination, and he goes for b6. He'll soon fianchetto his bishop, and yeah, continue a normal game. Now white here, he has a ton of different moves to choose from. He can, I don't know, develop his bishop, maybe go queen up, you can cancel queen side or king side, a lot of options to choose from. However, he plays knight to e5, okay? This is a very, very direct move, because it comes with all sorts of threats already. For example, if black just continues normal development, you can actually check with the queen, and black is already facing some sort of problems, because after something like pawn blocks, white can actually take this pawn, because, okay, even though you can actually take this knight back, because, the rook is protected, white can just simply take this pawn, and he will just regain the bishop, because it's attacked twice, right? So, okay, black needs to be careful. For example, he can just take the knight, because he's the one creating all the threats. But in this position, he just goes for actually a very natural move, and perhaps even better, just putting his king to safety. Now there are no queen h5 ideas, and black is just fine. And here white plays bishop to d3. It's a normal looking developing move, maybe looking to x-ray and put pressure on the black king eventually. And yeah, it doesn't look like a bad move. However, it kind of is, because I'm pretty sure every modern master nowadays will just take this knight. And after pawn takes, the problem for white is that after knight to c6, white really doesn't have a good way to defend this pawn. And if this pawn falls, white doesn't really got any center control, any central presence with his pawns, and he's just going to be at a clear disadvantage. For example, if you try defending the pawn, you can't obviously go f4, because this rook just captures the pawn. And if you try something like, I don't know, queen to h5 to protect this pawn this way, well, just rook f5. And yeah, goodbye pawn. But instead, in the game, black doesn't go for this bishop takes knight, and instead goes for bishop to b7, just developing the bishop. And this isn't necessarily a bad move, but just take a look at white's position. He has three perfectly positioned pieces to kickstart an attack at the black king. And realizing this, white just plays queen to h5, and all of a sudden, the queen joins the party, and there's four menacing pieces ready to kill this guy. So right now, black is walking on very thin ice because he has to be extremely careful on what he does. Because, for example, if he plays d6, just trying to kick this knight, all of a sudden there's forced mate. Like, white can just play knight to g5, and all of a sudden there's too much pressure on h7. If you try to play g6, just closing this bishop's diagonal, well, just queen h7, and the knight and the queen just mate the black king. If instead you try to take this knight, well, all of a sudden it's the bishop and the queen, so queen takes h7, the knight covers this escape square, so the king is just dead. And if you try to be clever and play h6, closing the queen's diagonal, well, all of a sudden there's bishop to h7, king is just forced to the corner, right, because of these knights, and then all of a sudden knight to g6 and the king is just brutalized in the corner, and it's just mate. So clearly black can't make a weird move here, so he has to make something calculated to avoid all the mates on h7. And he actually plays a very sensible move, he goes for queen to e7. And right now if you try the same idea, for example knight to g5, well now g6 works, because now the queen on e7 conveniently protects the h6 square. And if white is to try this forcing knight takes bishop, well this doesn't work as well, because after pawn takes again, this line is open and there's no mating threats. Knight is hit, you would have to go back, and all of a sudden white's attack is gone. So basically white now has to find a very creative way to keep the attack going. However, little did black know that by playing this sensible queen to e7 move, helping with the defense of the king, it would actually be helping create a masterpiece that would stand for ages to come. Because here the stage has been set, we have arrived at the position I was talking about earlier, and yeah, if you never saw this combo, please do yourself a favor and really pause the video and just try to find it, because while you probably can guess the first move, you still have like 6 or 7 more moves to find, so everything is just completely forcing. So if you give it enough time, I'm sure you can find it, but still, it's really just a beautiful combination, so give it your best shot. So hope you managed to find everything. Now, this isn't necessarily an easy combination, but it's an extremely forcing one. So once you start getting through the moves, if you get on the right path, then there aren't too many possible outcomes. So yeah, if you get the first idea right, you can navigate your way through it. But yeah, anyways, just a little quick side note for you beginners watching this. Just please take note that this sort of combination basically works like 1 in 5 million times, so don't go around your games doing this unless you're 100% sure it works. Because in this game, this international master just had 100% certainty that this worked, and that's why he went for it. So yeah, in this position, he unleashed the brilliant, the just genius queen takes on h7, just giving away a free queen, right? Obviously, black is literally forced to take, this escape square is taken, and now comes this knight takes bishop, and the thing is, the knight covers this escape square, and this bishop also hits, and basically the king is either forced up or down, and if he goes up, it's just a swift death, because this knight comes in, and all of a sudden, there's again this brutality with the knights, and the king is just straight up dead. So instead, best is probably to go king down, but now the king is just going on a long walk to death, because now we bring the other knight, we have knight e to g4, and again, king cannot go to the white squares because of this knight and the bishop, right? So he has to go to g5. But now come the pawns, we have h4, king is basically forced to f4, right? Everything is taken, and now g3, just continue hunting this king. King is forced to f3, and now comes the bishop, we have bishop to e2, king is forced to g2, and like what the hell, king has just gone mad, like walking all the way from G8 to G2. Like, he just completely lost his mind. And yeah, now comes Rook H2. King is forced to the first rank. We have King to G1. And now after King to D2, this is straight up mate. The king is completely cut off here, and it's just mating with the king. Like, this is ridiculous. White actually had mate with castle if he wanted. That's also quite unreal. But yeah, he decided to go for king to d2, and that's just mate as well. But anyways, just like put yourself in Black's shoes, right? You're an amazing player. You're beating world chess champions left and right. And then you sit down, you go for a casual game with your American friend, and well, he ends up beating you in 18 moves by checkmating you with his king. Like, if you have friends like that, I can't even imagine your enemies. Like, that's just ridiculous. But yeah, after all, this isn't necessarily a very complicated game. However, it just goes to show how much a little bit of creativity can get you so far in this game. And yeah, in general, I think this is a very nice calculation exercise that teaches you the value of forcing moves. So yeah, hope you guys could learn a thing or two. And yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. Please feel free to like and subscribe if you did. And maybe drop me some feedback in the comments down there below, because it also really helps a ton. See you guys on the next.